He's like 37, 38 years old, but not only that, he's got a million miles on the clock. I just think I can exploit it. To get out the way of me for 25 minutes without getting hit once, and that's all I need is just one, that's going to be very difficult for anybody.
When in your career have you felt the most fear?
Fear is extremely present in what I do. If I'm sat backstage, getting my hands wrapped, knowing that he's over the opposite side of the arena, getting his hands wrapped, we're both going to walk into the arena in front of 35,000 people, with millions watching around the world, and one of us is going to get separated from our consciousness, quite literally, and you're not scared of that, you're either a complete idiot or you're lying.
Well, welcome to High Performance, Tom. Now, we're here on a podcast called High Performance, and you unfortunately can't call yourself the highest performing heavyweight in UFC at the moment due to the presence of Jon Jones. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts on addressing that?
Well, I'm trying to. I can't do anything else. I'm trying to pick a fight with him as much as I can, but at the minute I'm unsuccessful. So, yeah, that's what I want. I want to be called. See, we have a thing in MMA where it's different to boxing in terms of there's one champion at heavyweight, one guy, heavyweight division. Whereas boxing, you have different like organization stuff. There can be like 4, 5, even 6 sometimes. World champions at heavyweight. In the UFC, we have one. But in my division, we have 2, which is weird. I don't like it. Jon Jones doesn't want to take the risk at the moment. So I actually have a meeting tonight about it. So we're going to find out what happens tonight, believe it or not.
What do you think you can do to make that fight happen?
Me personally, I can't do anything. I think it's just down to money, I think, on his side. So I will fight whenever, wherever he wants. But it's down to money, I think.
When you say he's afraid to take the risk, what do you mean by that?
I just think that at this stage in his career, he's had an amazing career. I just think that he's like 37, 38 years old, but not only that, he's got a million miles on the clock. So he's got a lot of damage on the body. He's took a lot of shots to the head. And that's not me saying anything negative about it. That's the reality of it. And I'm sure Jon Jones is aware of that. When you put him in with, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I'm literally the most dangerous guy in the UFC if you look at the stats. When you put him in with a guy of my size who has them credentials at this stage in his career, I think Jon's a smart guy and he realises that, so he wants compensating financially for it.
And how does it feel that you constantly have to address this topic?
Oh, I'm well bored of it. I've had enough. We either need to fight or I need to move on and do something else. And like I said, I'm going to find out. Literally today is the day that I've been waiting for 3-4 months for, and I'm going to find out today what's going on.
Would you mind explaining to us what happens then when you say today's the day? Do you all get together in a room? Is it done over a video call? Does he get on the call and you get on the call?
No, I never speak to him personally. It's done. So you got Dana White, who is, everybody knows Dana White, he's the face of the UFC. The last meeting I had, Dana was actually there, which is the first for me. Usually it's done with another guy called Hunter. Hunter like stays in the shadows a little bit. Like he's the guy who all the fighters speak to directly. So tonight will probably be Hunter. I'm not sure if Dana's going to be there or not, but Hunter is the guy who does the deals. And we just go in a room, chat. It used to be done over the phone and stuff, but with the bigger fights, it's usually, when you're talking about world title fights, usually done face to face. So we had a meeting in New York about it a few months ago, and now we're here in London about to have a meeting about it tonight.
What's discussed in those meetings? Because you want the fight. So it's very simple from your side. What else happens?
Well, this is what I don't understand, to be honest, because they actually said to me that we're going to discuss the plan tonight and they're going to give me the full breakdown. And for me personally, I've now had 10 UFC fights. And I've had however many other fights in my career as well outside the UFC. I've never been given a plan before. It's just like, this is the date, let me know the location, when, and I'll show up. So this is really rare for me. I don't know what to expect. I'm really interested actually to see like, what is there to plan? Do you know, like there's 2 guys, I'm one of them, I'm in, what's the plan? So I'm interested, I don't know.
What I'm interested in though is like the clear-eyed evaluation that you've just offered us. You describe yourself as a dangerous man in MMA. You talk about Jon with a level of respect that you recognise what he's good at,
Yeah.
but also the weaknesses. If the plan tonight does materialise and you and him do meet, how do you think that fight will go?
I think Jon is amazing at MMA. I think he's literally you can never be a complete UFC fighter. It's impossible. That's one of the things that draws me to the sport so much, is why I'm so obsessed about it. It's because you're constantly chasing perfection, but you're never going to get it. No one's ever going to be the perfect, complete fighter. But Jon, in my opinion, if you look at his body of work over the last 15 years, he's like as close as you can get to perfection as possible. That being said, he's got a lot of miles on the clock, and he's fighting one of the most concussive punchers in UFC history. And I just think I can exploit it. Like, I think to get out the way of me for 25 minutes at this point in his career without getting hit once, and that's all I need is just one, I think that's going to be very difficult for anybody, I think.
But where do you think the threats to you will come from?
What, me threatening him?
No,
or him
as opposed
threatening
to
me?
what do you think he can do to you? He's
got a lot more experience than I do. He knows how to stay in there. He's fought guys similar to me before. He's had these plenty massive fight experience where I've only main evented the UFC like 4 or 5 times now. He's done that for the last 15 years. Do you know what I mean? So that stuff, from the outside looking in, you probably think, oh, that's a load of rubbish. Like, what's it? Just a fight. But being in those situations, those high pressure situations in those massive fights, if you've been there a lot of times before,
yeah,
in comparison to someone like me who's been there 4 or 5 times before, it does make a big difference. And I'm aware of that. I'm completely aware of it. But that's where he has the advantage, is the experience.
Let's talk then about the psychology. If this fight comes off, you going into a fight that is career defining for you, that you've not just had to wait your life to take part in, but you've had to fight for the last few months and years to try and make it happen. How present is fear the moment that fight is confirmed?
Well, I'm actually one of the rare UFC fighters that I'm aware of that will sit here and look you in the eyes and talk about fear, because a lot of UFC fighters like to pretend they're not scared. Now, I've basically spent my life in gyms and backstage at events and in these changing rooms. And listen, I'm yet to see a person who isn't scared. But it's very rare that you'll get a UFC fighter who will talk about fear.
Wow.
Now, because it's a taboo subject. People want to be this big alpha guy, don't they? Who's like, oh, I'm getting in there, having a fight in a cage with somebody. Listen, if you're not scared, then you're either a complete idiot or you're lying. Like, I'm willing to step in the cage we're talking about Jon Jones here, who is the most dangerous guy to ever fight in MMA. So I'm talking about potentially the most dangerous man unarmed on earth, right? Who I'm potentially going to fight with. Now, if I'm sat backstage getting my hands wrapped, knowing that he's over the opposite side of the arena getting his hands wrapped, we're both going to walk into the arena in front of 35,000 people with millions watching around the world, and one of us is going to get separated from our consciousness, quite literally, and you're not scared of that, then, like I said, you're either a complete idiot or you're just lying. So fear is extremely present in what I do.
It was Customato, the famous boxing trainer, that said that fear is like fire. You can either use it to heat you or you can allow it to consume and burn you. So it's great that you're willing to talk about it. What's your relationship with it like?
Well, I used to have a terrible relationship with it because I used to think, because like I said, it's a very taboo subject, fear, in MMA. People don't want to talk about it with these macho cage fighters who are like savages and gladiators and all that. It's a lot of rubbish. It's just a sport at the end of the day. It's scary. It's a scary thing to do. So I used to watch interviews of all these other guys and think, I'm different because I am scared and these guys aren't scared. And it's only as I got up there in levels, I realized it's okay to admit that you're scared and do it anyway. To me, that's well more, I don't know, I would be more scared of someone who says that as opposed to, for me, it's really, someone's really switched on mentally if they go listen, I'm really scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to come and kick your ass in front of millions of people, and I'm really scared doing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think that's some badass thing to do.
Well, you've shown your physical strength, right? I mean, there's no doubts about that. to tell us that you're scared and you'll still walk forwards into that fire, into that heat, that's a true mental strength. How do you keep walking forwards? What do you do? I'm interested in the kind of mental gymnastics, if you like, at this point. So you're getting your hands wrapped, that fear starts to rise. I'm interested in actually how it does feel. But then how do you make it a fear that heats you rather than a fear that burns you?
Oh, well, with great difficulty, usually.
Really?
It's something that I've practiced for a long time. Like, I used to have 2 fights. I say it all the time. I used to have like 2 fights. I used to be fighting my opponent, but fighting myself, mainly, trying to push that fear away. And I just realized after a bit, like, this is never going to go away, because before, like, pre-UFC, when I was like, even pre-professional fighting, when I was like an amateur fighter and stuff, I used to like watch UFC fighters and think, I can't wait to get to that level, because these guys like have no fear and that'll just go away. But what you realize is the higher in level you go, the more pressure is on you. Like, the more's at stake, especially when you start talking about, like me, I'm a dad of 3. At one point, I was absolutely skint. I had no money. And I was trying to, like, provide for my family. Like, there's a lot on the line there. Do you know what I mean? So fear's there. And I think the main thing that I do is I just try and embrace it and enjoy it. Because when you, like, an older guy, like grandfather age, whatever, like, I like to think that's what I'll be telling my grandkids about. Now, a lot of the times I was like wishing those moments away. The hand wrap moments, the walking out moments, the stood in the cage, waiting for the referee to get out of the way and tell you to go. Like, I was wishing all this away and just having the fight over with. And that, they're very, very special moments. And there's a very, very few people walking around on planet Earth who are privileged enough to be able to do that. To privileged enough to be able to sit in a chair and tell the grandkids about it one day in 20 years' time or whatever, that this is what I used to do. So why not try and enjoy them? That's really something that I've focused on, especially like these days. I'm not saying I'm going to retire anytime soon or anything, because hopefully I'm not. But I'm aware that I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning now. I'm on like the second half of my career now. And I think it's about time that I started enjoying it rather than, trying to fight this fear all the time.
But take us to the heart of that darkness, though, because I've been in the tunnel with fighters in that moment where it's an old saying, isn't it, that a fight is never won then, but it can be lost if you allow it to consume you. So I'm interested that you talk about learning to embrace it and enjoy it, but tell us how you do that. Like, what is it that so that you say to yourself that reminds you to enjoy something?
Well, I do a lot. I do a lot of stuff. Visualization's massive for me. I think a lot of people, when I talk about like visualization, they think I'm sat there with like some weird music on and crystals and all that. That's not what I mean. It's just simply daydreaming. Mental practice of going through the walkout, standing in the cage, getting the hands wrapped. Like, by the time I'm actually physically doing it, I've done it mentally 10,000 times. So that's massive for me.
Do you manifest the actual fight?
No, not really. Just more how I'm going to feel. So it's like I could get in a spot now where I'm thinking about it, where I could almost feel what I'm actually going to feel when I'm fighting. I've done it that many times.
And what is it you want to feel?
I want to feel that fear. That's what I want to feel, because that's when I know. See, fears are very, it's not always a negative thing, fear. And people think it is. For example, a friend of mine, he's a skinny fella. He won't mind me saying. He's smaller guy. He was doing something with a wardrobe in his house, in his bedroom. His child was in the room, who was like an infant at the time, like wasn't even walking, like 6-7 months old. The wardrobe fell somehow. I don't know if he was moving it or what. And he immediately picked the wardrobe up off the child, moved the child out of the way. Everything was fine, whatever. Anyway, after he picked the wardrobe up, he went to move the wardrobe again over the opposite side of the room. And he realized that he couldn't move the wardrobe on his own because he wasn't strong enough. But when that fear happens and there's danger, he doesn't even think twice. The wardrobe's moving regardless because the fear's present. Same if somebody's chasing you. Someone's chasing you, for example, and you're scared. You're going to run way faster than you are if you're just jogging down the street. And I think a lot of people see the fear as a negative, but your senses are so heightened when you're scared like that. It makes me personally twice as sharp. Like, I don't spar very well in the gym because if I'm going to get my ass kicked in the gym, the only people who know about it is me and the guy who's kicking my ass and a couple more people who are going to be watching. Whereas if I get my ass kicked in a fight, everyone and the dog is going to know about it for the next, it's going to be out there forever. And that brings a lot of pressure and fear, which makes me perform way better than it does in the gym where there's 10 people watching.
When in your career have you felt the most fear?
Every fight's worse and worse.
Oh, wow. It
Yeah.
gets worse as your career goes on.
Gets worse. Now, that's something I wish someone would have told me 10 years ago because, so my last fight was bad. Because I was fighting in Manchester, which is where I'm from. I was fighting a guy who I got injured against, who I've technically got a loss to. Curtis Blades, yeah. I was defending an interim title, which is really rare. That's people were saying that was a pointless thing to do. Like, there was just so much weighing on it. And not only that, I think when you're fighting in your hometown in front of 25,000 people who are there to see you win, that alone just brings a ridiculous amount of pressure. So, yeah, the last one was bad.
So how do you detach yourself from this pressure to be able to go out there and perform?
That's what elite athletes do. That's the elite of the elite right there, because I've seen so many, I don't want to name names, but there's so many people who I've sparred with in the gym. And I'm like, this guy is the next best thing. He's incredible. Like, doing all kinds of amazing things in the gym. Like we just spoke about, like that's when it's easy, when you're in the gym. That's when no one cares about it. As soon as them lights go on, Bruce Buffer's there introducing your name, there's 25,000 people screaming, and the referee moves out the way and the cage door closes. It's way different than it is in the gym. Way different. And it's the same on a running track. It's the same on a tennis court. Like, the elites make the massive decisions in a split second under enormous pressure. And that's for elites only.
See, when I was working as a football presenter, I'd be sitting there with the elite of the elite, you know, Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, and I would say to them, best player you've ever played against. And they would often name a player that you wouldn't put in the top 100 players in the world.
Yeah.
And they're like, but on the training ground, they were like, I can't even tell you how good they were. But the minute they were in a stadium, the minute the cameras were on, they collapsed, they melted. So it's not unique to your sport, as you've said. Mm-hmm. You know, they saw it in the world of football. What makes you the elite of the elite? What stops you from being the guy that crumbles in that moment, do you think?
Awareness, I think awareness.
Of?
That, what we just talked about, that fear can help you. And I just wish that when I was coming up that more people would have spoke about it more openly. Because there's a guy who came way before me, GSP, which in my opinion is the best MMA fighter to ever do it. And he spoke openly about fear. And just watching his stuff and speaking to him personally, because I know him personally now, just helped me like so much, just like, and just being like around my dad and stuff, like it's always, the focus is on enjoying it. And I think MMA in particular is such an ego-driven sport. Like, you don't only, like football, for example, you lose a football game, you might lose 2-1. There's 10 other people on the pitch you can also share that blame with. You're also probably going to play again in the next week or two and redeem yourself. If you get knocked out in front of millions of people, not only are you losing, which is pretty grim, you're also getting beat up in front of everybody. You're also not going to have the chance to redeem yourself for another at least 3-4 months, which again, you might get beat up again after that. So there's a lot at stake every time you step in there. And that's the tough thing about MMA, is that it's on you. And sometimes you do everything right and you still lose. There's so many variables in MMA. Like, you can lose. People say, oh, he like zigged when he should have zagged or whatever. Sometimes it's not even that. Just one lands and you go over. You've not even made a mistake.
And are you thinking about any of this during the fight?
No, not when it starts. Not when it starts.
So the fight starts, what's going on inside Tom Aspinall's brain?
Ice cold. Nothing then. Well, once the bell rings, I'm good to go. And this is something else that I was telling someone recently, because we were chatting. When I was younger and less experienced, I used to go into a fight and I couldn't feel anything physically. Like, the punches and kicks, they wouldn't really hurt. But now I'm a lot more well versed. It's painful, man. Like because I'm so calm in there, I don't have the same adrenaline as I did 5-10 years ago, and the punches hurt. The punches and kicks hurt more than they used to.
But how do you balance that? The act of, they often say about boxing is like chest with gloves on. The best boxers are strategists, that they're thinking and reacting in real time. So how do you combine almost like the automatic behaviours of knowing what to do and where to do it?
Well,
adapt in real time.
That's built from like years in the gym.
So let's go back to that then and tell us about your origins then of going in the gym, because we're talking about the high stakes now, but you were doing this when nobody knew your name, when you were walking into a gym and paying your subs.
I've been doing this since I was like 8 years old, and now I'll be 32 in a couple of weeks. So yeah, the majority of my life I've been involved in martial arts of some kind. My dad is a martial artist, was a fighter before me. So it's just like something that I've always done. You know what I mean? I've always been involved in MMA, and I think it's quite easy to look at me physically and be like, he's like 6'4", 6'5", 115 kilos, athletic guy, and that's why he's winning the fights. But there's been a lot of times when I've not had that physical stature and I've had to learn how to do everything properly. And I think my like feel of the sport, because I've been doing it so long and all my life, and I've put the reps in for so long, is way superior than I've given credit for, I think.
So tell us about pain then. So you say it hurts now, but at that age of 8 years of age where you're getting hurt, you're putting yourself into that arena, how did you learn to process that? Because lots of people get hurt first time and never come back again. Yeah. You kept coming back and doing the reps.
You know what? It was like, I feel like talking to more people as I've got a bit older, I've got quite a unique journey in that sense, is because I was so young when I started, it's difficult to really remember, first of all. But like I always did martial arts, or at least to start off with, because my friends at the time and stuff were into football and whatever. I wasn't, and I didn't really have anything else to do. So it was like my dad was going to the gym, so I'd just go with him. So it was always just like mine and my dad's kind of like bonding time, really, because I had nothing else really to do. My dad was going, he would ask me, do I want to come along? I had nothing else to do, so I'd go. Do you know what I mean? It was as simple as that. So the process of taking shots and it being painful, like that's just something that I've become accustomed to through kind of wanting to spend time with my dad, really. Like at the core of it all, that's how it worked, because I didn't really like football or rugby. That's why I got involved with it.
And was the dream at that stage to be the best in the world?
No, that dream came when I was about 14, 15 years old. And I remember going to a gym where there was like professional MMA fighters. And I didn't really know that existed before, because in the UK, you got to remember, we're talking like 16, 17-ish years ago here. So it wasn't like it is today. So I'm going to a gym and there's guys there in the morning. So I'm obviously off school for whatever reason. My dad's took me to the gym. There's guys there like in the morning time. And I remember asking like specifically like, oh, why are these guys not at work? Do you know what I mean? Like what's going on? And they're like, no, they do this full time. I'm like, what? So they train in the morning and that's it? No, they're like, no, they train in the morning, then they go home, then they come back and train at night, and then they'll fight, and that's the way they are. And when I started realizing, that's how people like, that's what they do. They don't work a normal job. Because like, I'm from an area where, we're in London right now, but like office jobs and lawyer jobs and broker jobs and that, they don't exist they must exist where I'm from, but people's families don't do that where I'm from. People's families work in a factory, or they work in a garage, or they're a plumber, or stuff like that. That's I'm from a blue collar area. So once I realized like, people are doing this rather than working 12 hours in the factory, I was like, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that other stuff.
But being a good fighter and wanting to be the best in the world and wanting to turn pro, those are all good things, right? But none of those take away the pain and the challenge and the difficult times. So you then turn professional.
Yeah.
And if people are watching this that don't know the Tom Aspinall story, they'd be like, oh, right, trained a bit, went professional, ended up in the UFC, and now he's one of the biggest in the world. I think we need to tell them about after turning professional actually?
Yeah.
What was going on?
Well, I wish it went that way. That'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't it? Well, I don't know. I think part of your story is the challenges that you've had.
No, I think so as well. I think I'm pretty thankful for the challenges I've had. So my career's been very like stop-start. I've quit quite a lot of times, to be honest. I didn't want to do it anymore. But making any money outside of the UFC as a professional MMA fighter is impossible. Even being like in the low level of the UFC, you can just about get by.
What sort of money would you be making a year at that low
a year?
level? Yeah.
What are we talking about? Like when I first turned professional?
Yeah.
So say I'm having 3 fights a year, I'm probably making somewhere between 3 to 5 grand a year.
So what are you doing to supplement it then?
So I just did like jobs to try and. So my jobs,
It's actually a lie to call that professional, by the way.
Yeah, it's not really.
Like you can't be a professional earning $5 grand a year, can you?
No. So it might have changed now. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's the way it was when I was, a young professional. But so I've worked like a few jobs and stuff. My jobs were always to put fuel in the car, to buy supplements, to do whatever, buy gloves or whatever I need to go to the gym and train. Where I am now is where I wanted to be then. Do you know what I mean? So the jobs that I did have were like personal training. I did a bit of that. I used to teach a bit of MMA, grappling. I used to work on the doors, security a little bit. I used to do a bit of cleaning. I was like a delivery driver at one stage, just stuff to get me by. So that's how I was funding my stuff.
And when you're doing that, what are you saying to yourself?
Well, you know what? I was completely satisfied with it for quite a while, because I was like, that's what everybody else was doing who was trying to make it in MMA. Do you know what I mean? I was fine with it. Then I had my first kid when I was 22, 23, something like that. So even then, that was all right, because I was doing work as well. I was doing like bits of, I would work in the gym, I'd train in the morning, then I'd teach a couple of private lessons, so I'd maybe get 40 quid off that. And then I'd teach a class at night, I'd get another 30 quid. So I was doing all right. Then my wife got pregnant again with twins. So now I had 3 kids. I was 25 years old, which is very young to have 3 children without money. That is when that's when the mental struggle started for me in terms of, what am I doing? I think like I'm quite traditional in the sense of, there's definitely going to be people watching this who disagree, but I'm quite traditional in the sense of, I'm the man. I should be providing for the family. And we're in the modern world now, and people will disagree with that, and that's fine. But that's my point of view on it. My wife was not in a physical state after having, 3 young kids. We didn't have the time for my wife to go to work as well. So I had to provide the money, and I didn't have any, which was tough at the time. Yeah.
So how did you keep that fire burning then? The idea of still having a dream of being where you are now?
Well, I was actually I'm very lucky so I started the journey with my dad. He's always believed in me, but not only has my dad believed in me, he's also convinced the circle of people around me that I'm going to make it as well. So like, luckily my wife was on board, my family were on board, friends, like everybody was convinced that, yeah, Tom might be struggling now, but he's going to make it. And at some points, I wasn't even convinced of that myself, if I'm being honest. But I'm very lucky that I have that, my dad and the close circle who did believe in me.
Can I just talk about that period where things were a struggle for you? Because I know there will be many men watching this with more going on inside their brains than they will ever allow people to know. They will feel like you do, that it's their responsibility to be the leader of the pack. They will feel like if they tell people why they're struggling and fearful and full of self-doubt, that they'll get shot down and they'll get ridiculed and they'll get criticised. They feel that every single day they're failing because they're not doing the thing that they believe that they should be doing.
Yeah.
And if they ever do reach out, what they will get is a cuddle and a bit of love. And actually the one thing that they really need is that sense that they're delivering for people rather than for people to feel sorry for them. And I think often men who are struggling are the ones who find it the hardest to reach out. It's okay for you to talk about this now because you're a successful guy. Yeah. So it's easy now for Tom Aspinall to go, yeah, I had self-doubt and I was really struggling. You try and say this 20 years ago when you're struggling, and I don't think you can. So for people who are watching this, who are in the place now where you were then, what would you say to them?
I completely agree with what you just said, by the way.
Here's the truth, okay? High performers don't do more, they just work smarter. It's a myth I want to debunk that high performance means chasing hacks, squeezing it in, working harder than everybody else. It's not true. The best performers just simplify. They master the fundamentals. We call it world-class basics on high performance. And in many ways, I've learned this through trial and error, but also through the conversations that we've had on this show. And one area you need to get the basics right is your nutrition. And that's where Vitals comes in. This is nutrition without the noise. 2 capsules, 6 seconds, 0 effort. And this has all the essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and healthy fats that you need, designed to power your sleep, your energy, your focus, your recovery. No mixing, no messing, no nonsense. Everything you need in the right dose. So why don't you strip your health routine back and just focus on what matters? Head to Heitch.com/Jake or enter the code HP20 at checkout for 20% off your first order.
I'm extremely fortunate, and actually thinking back, which is something that I don't do very often. Maybe I should reflect a bit more on where I've come from and stuff. But life moves so fast now that I'm going from this to this and it's constant. But I'm very lucky in the fact that my close people were on board, so I could if I was to talk to anybody who wasn't under that belief system that I'm going to make it, I know for a fact what somebody would have said. Just get a regular job then. Just get a regular job. Go and provide for your family. Yeah. That's what I would tell somebody else. Do you know what I mean? But I think the advice that I would tell everybody is to try and stay true to what you're doing. Like if you've put a lot of work in something and you know that you're good at it, try and stick it out. Everyone's situation is different, of course. But I have been there. And I'm really lucky to have my dad, because he's like, you can't stop now. Like you're right on the cusp. You're right on the cusp of doing something good and making money out of it. Like you've been doing it since you're 8, 9 years old. You can't just stop now. And that is something that I'm very, very lucky with. The fact that I didn't need to look many places for encouragement. I'm very lucky with that.
I also think it's important to say that people will feel they're not resilient, right, if they've got all of these fears. But actually resilience, that's how resilience feels. Resilience feels like bad. Feels like you don't know the answers. Feels like you can't keep going forwards. The point is that you do. That's why you're resilient. And I guess the most important thing about your whole story is that you had these feelings. I think people think that if they're finding life hard, then perhaps on the wrong path. I think it's important for us to say that sometimes you could be on the right path, still feels pretty shit.
Yeah, well, I felt shit for most of my come up, and I sometimes I still do. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. I think that's something else that. So you poor people look at rich people and they're like, and they've got money. When you've got money like them, you don't have any problems. Or people who are not very popular look at famous people and be like, "You're famous. Listen, you still feel the same stuff. It doesn't change. Doesn't change nothing." And it's the same with unsuccessful people. Look at successful people and be like, they had it so easy and they've not been through any struggles. Look, it's all the same. It's hard either way. It's like you just have to try and carry on with what you're doing. Is what I think is like. If you're passionate about something, if you love something, that's the most important thing, is that love for it. Like I absolutely love mixed martial arts, like more than most people who are involved with it. I love it, everything about it, from the mental aspect to the physical aspect to the tactical aspect to the almost, I'm going to get a bit weird and say the spiritual aspect, because there is a spiritual aspect to it. I love everything about it, and it would be a shame for me to love something that much and walk away from it for financial reasons or whatever.
What's the spiritual aspect?
I just think it's quite difficult to speak to two quote unquote normal people and for you to relate to it, if that makes sense. But
try us.
I'll try you. I feel like if I was to speak to any other combat athlete and say you need to get, when I'm talking about spiritual, I'm not talking about like God or any religious stuff. I'm talking about you need to get into a space mentally, and this is going to sound really brutal, where you're willing to die in there. And that's, people will be watching this and thinking, this guy is over-exaggerating a little bit here. But that is seriously the space. You need to be, when that door closes, you need to be willing to die. That is, I'm not saying it for clicks. I'm not saying it to be over-exaggerate and make me look like some intense person that I'm not. But that is the reality of it.
Why?
Because that's how bad you need to want it.
I can identify with that. I wrote a book many years ago on Marvin Hagler, the middleweight boxer. And when I interviewed his coaches, Goody Petronelli, he spoke about that Hagler would say to him before his first world title fight, whatever happens in here, I'm ready to die in this ring.
Yeah.
So I can identify what you're saying. What I'm interested in is, how do you reconcile yourself to the fact that you are willing to die in there, as a father of 3 young children, a husband to your wife?
Well, it's definitely become more difficult with stuff like that, and I don't want to die in there. Do you know what I mean? It's not something I want to do, but it's just a place that I'm willing to go if I have to. That's like the last place I want. The last place that I ever want to be in, and this is, again, some fighters will definitely disagree with me on this. I don't want to be in a hard fight. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to get in and out as quick as possible with me and my opponent getting home safely. That's paramount for me. But if I have to, and I don't want to, I'll do everything in my power to win. And that's a space that, again, only elites, even if you're talking to a professional tennis player or whatever, professional golfer or whoever, they will also be willing to die to win, 100%. And I've never spoke to any other, people in any other sports, but you have to go to a place mentally, physically, you have to embody that, is that you are willing to lose your life to win.
Tell you what, can we get your dad in at this point?
Yeah,
because I think, with this kind of mental approach, I think it's really important. What were you going to say, Damien Welby?
Well, I was going to ask you, we're talking about the real dark heart here of competition. And when do you enter that place?
I don't know if I do. I think it's just automatic. I just know that that's what I might have to do.
But when do you step out of being dad mode to then go to being this ultimate warrior?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. We talk about it a lot. A lot of fighters talk about flipping a switch, they call it. Is like flipping a switch between like a normal life person and a professional cage fighter. Now for me, I don't have that, really. I feel like I'm just doing a sport, which is like completely contradicting everything that we just talked about potentially dying for it. But it is a sport for me, and I find it easy. I don't know if it's because I've done that forever, but I just see it that way.
Well, your dad is now with us. We're just sorting out his mic on the fly here. Well, and the reason why you were watching out there and we wanted to drag you in at this moment particularly, that you've been a huge part of Tom's journey from the very beginning. How do you feel when you sit here and hear him say he'd be willing to die in that ring?
I'd throw a towel in. I don't know is the answer. You can only do so much with your athlete, your son, to get them there and do what they do. And on fight day, I don't know, he's really scared because he doesn't portray that, It's a secret of how he holds it in and how he portrays himself. And in the ring, you don't know how far he's going to go.
So how do you make the distinction, Andy, between being a dad and being a corner man?
I've never known any different. So it's just life for me. That's what we've always done.
But when you see him, do you see your son in there or do you see a fighting machine?
Good question. I don't really think about it that much because we've done it for 20 odd years. And he had lots of wrestling matches, lots of jiu-jitsu matches, boxing matches. I've just always been there and it's something we've always done. It's kind of our life of what we do.
Would you be sitting here today in the position you're in without the man to your right?
No. I don't even know if I would have been involved in martial arts, to be honest. I don't even know if I would have liked it. It's hard to say because, like I said before, it's just something that I kind of did because I didn't really do anything else and my dad was going. Just wanted to spend time with my dad, really.
So your dad gave you the physical stuff, right? Which is taking you to the fights, getting you on the mats, explaining the life that he lived, as a fighter as well. I'm interested in the mental stuff that your dad gave you, though. What's he done for you on that side?
Well, pretty much everything, really. I don't know. I think the thing with my dad is that See, MMA is very complicated when you talk about psychology and stuff, because, like we touched on before, it isn't a regular sport in terms of your ego is at stake massively, and people they have a fight or flight switch, and they start thinking in ways that you wouldn't usually think. In terms of, a lot of people want to go into this like warrior mindset, do or die, forcing everything they do in there. The lights are on, everybody's watching, and they're tensed up and they're trying to kill the other guy. Whereas I think the outlook that we have is a little bit different. We see it for sport. We see it for, obviously there's elements of that come into it, but that's secondary. What we see first is the almost like chess game of it. And the way that you can see that is through feel and through enjoying yourself, really. Like, when you're in that quote unquote flow state, and everyone wants to talk about that terminology these days, you can't do that if you're tensed up and forcing it. So in order to get to that flow state, you have to be enjoying it and reactive. And that's my style. And to have that, you need someone in your corner who keeps you in a mental state that allows you, that encourages that. Do you know that? Doesn't allow you to tense up, doesn't allow you to think do or die, it's me or them, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, and all that stuff. That's not what we're about. We're about the skill and finesse of martial arts.
So how do you create that environment in the dressing room, Andy? Because it can sometimes feel like the gallows, can't it, before you called to go out and you're wrapping his hands. How do you get
don't
that?
let it be like that.
Go on, so tell us.
He trains, we train every day. And 1 or 2 days a week, he'll spar quite hard. And all the lads who come they're high in their organisations that they're in anyway. And the atmosphere is really, really nice. Ask anybody who comes. It's not about scrapping. We've been to gyms before where you walk in, they wrap their hands, they don't talk, they stare at each other. It's not like that where I train. And I don't have that. I don't have people in the gym who are like that.
So what
Same
do you
as
do
I
with
won't have
people
them in the
that are
dressing
like
room.
that? So how do you...
I just try and manage them out, really, is the answer. Or don't even let them come in. It's gone like full circle now. People want to come and train because he's good. And they just want a picture, really, sometimes. And sometimes they come and they'll blame, you hear it on the grapevine, you came and such a body beat me up. And so, well, you came for sparring. And it's got to a stage that if they do get to me now, I'll ask how good they are. And I'll tell them that it's really elite level. And if you're going to come, you risk getting hurt. The guys will not pick on you and they'll not try and kill you, but they're world-class elite fighters. And if you want that, come and enjoy it, and we'll make sure you enjoy it. And if the personality's right, I'll tell them. I'll just say, it's wrong, you're being here.
What's your fear like before a fight?
No, none. Not saying none. I do honestly see it as just a sport. He's prepared for a sport since he was...
But you know the risks.
10. And I know the risks of window cleaning, and I know the risks of being a lorry driver, and I know the risks of... You just have to see it like that. I know you're going in and trying to punch somebody, but he's done that for years and years and years. So he knows how to move out of the way of a punch. And if a stray punch catches you, that's the sport.
I love that. I feel confident now with Andy sitting here saying all these things. It's very interesting, isn't it, how the way your dad sees it kind of is a very calm approach.
I used to explain to Tom, if you go to Alton Towers and you sit on the top of the Oblivion and you're going to go down over the top, or you're going to spar or, excuse me, have a contest with somebody. So are you scared there and are you happy there, excited? Or is it just a word that you're using for a feeling that you've got? It's just, I want to do it and I want to see what it's like. And he's hyped on fight day and chat around it, but it's not something he's not done. He's sparred with the best in the world at sports. And sparring, he'll spar 12 rounds, it's hard. In a fight, he has 3 or 5 rounds. Still hard, big audience, loads of people watching, but he knows how to do it.
So you said that your favourite boxer was Marvin Hagler. And One of the aspects of his career that I always admired.
Different this personality.
Yeah, he is. But one of the things I always admired was the fact that he had the Goody and Pat Petronelli as his coaches.
Yes.
And even when he was at the summit of his sport, he kept those coaches and he managed his inner circles to be really tight. He said,
Sure.
now everyone wants to know me.
Yeah.
I'm really careful of who I let in.
Yes.
So how do you manage the inner circle? Because now Tom's coming to the summit of UFC. I imagine people wouldn't be part of your entourage. People wouldn't come in. How do you manage that to make sure it's the right influences around him?
That's been for the last 3 or 4 years, that's what I've done solely. So I train him, find sponsors for him. Got a social media guy we work with closely now, part of the team. And the team is probably us 3. Other people try and help, and not everybody who comes wants a piece, but lots of people are. I don't do social media, can't stand it. The world's gone wrong for me. Not personally. I don't like the world now, how it is with social media and stuff, because everybody's great at everything because they post loads of pictures. So I don't do that at all. But anybody who holds pads for Tom, they put a video out saying, I've explained to Tom Aspinall how to beat. So you know what it's like. So I have to try and keep everybody away because everybody thinks that they've done everything for Tom. And that doesn't bother me. I think when he has a fight, I want everybody there who's been involved with Tom, but I don't want them portraying that they've done. He does it all. I do it because I'm his dad and he's my son and I love him and I want to be with him and I want everything for him. I'm old and past my time, but if I can help him in any way, and if I wasn't helping him, he'd tell me. He's straight enough to say, Dad, you're not the best coach. I'll go and find somebody else.
What would you say to your dad about what he's done for you?
Well, it's immeasurable. I can't put it into words. There isn't. I mean, as my dad said, there's a lot of people interested. There's a lot of great coaches I could work with anywhere in the world that would fly to my house and stay there if they wanted to. But I choose my dad over anyone. And said it. Why? Because I feel like above everything else, I mean, MMA essentially, there's different methods of training, of course, but they're all pretty similar. You're punching and kicking each other, you're wrestling to each other to the floor, and you're doing different moves to each other. That's essentially what it is. But mentally and spiritually, not everybody knows me and not will ever know me on the level that my dad does. So how am I going to trust anybody else to be my head coach when they've held a few pads for me and see me take someone down to the floor a few times and show me a few moves?
And is there ever a moment or a piece of advice you can recall that Andy's offered you that stands out?
Best advice that you can give me, and it's very subjective, because there are people, I know we just spoke about like the bad stuff and, you know, people need to get into this warrior mindset. Look, that works for some people. That works absolutely for some people. But for me, enjoying it is the most important thing that you can do. That's when I do my best. So the best advice that my dad or anybody else could ever give me is just go and enjoy yourself.
Love that. Which leads us to our final part of the show, our quick fire questions. I'd like you both to give us some answers to these. So first of all, the 3 non-negotiable behaviours that you guys think are most important.
Timekeeping.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's late sometimes, especially me. Don't be late every day. That's annoying. Every day, that's too far. Having a bad attitude, that rubs off on people. Like, if we're all tired, are you talking about training partners or just in general?
Whatever you like.
Yeah, bad attitude is bad. And just negative talk. Everybody's got to complain sometimes, get it off the chest. I get that. I do it a lot myself. Don't let everything that comes out your mouth be negative.
Sorry, Andy.
Nice people.
Yep.
I like nice people. I want people who will stay in the lanes. You know, if you're a marketing guy, just do marketing. You're an accounts guy, just do accounts. And the last one is, personally, this is what I've found in my personal life and especially in Tom's fighting life. If somebody asks me something, my opinion on something, or if I say something to somebody that's my opinion that I need to tell them, for him, don't be offended by it, because I've asked him and we've agreed it, and that person isn't right for doing that thing.
Yeah.
So don't complicate and don't think I'm bad or
Take
an
it
arse.
professionally, not personally.
Take it professionally, because you're asking me.
Mhm.
I want him to get to there. He's not stupid. We know each other better than anybody in the planet, probably. And if somebody says to me, he's really good for doing that for Tom, and Tom tries him and he says he's not, and I watch him and I look and I know him and I say he's not, and that person asks and I say, you're not right for him, don't be offended by it.
What advice would you give to a teenage Tom just starting out?
If you love something, go for it. Don't waver off it. That's the bet. It depends, because a lot of people, they get confused with enjoying doing something and loving it. Like, I enjoyed playing football. I enjoyed playing rugby. I didn't love it, so I didn't want to stick at it. If you truly love something, whether you're good at it or not, being good at it comes secondary, because you'll get good at it because you love it and you want to do it. So if you really love it, like I loved MMA, stick with it, because being good will come because you love it and you'll keep doing it. So that would be my advice.
And my advice would be, and he knows this from my point of view, if I'm telling him something, there's nothing in it for me. I'm not doing it because I want to do it. I'm doing it because I think it's best. In this situation, I think you're asking that question. But I only tell him what I think is best for him. It's not better for me. I could walk away from doing it, but we've got so far on doing it, we're trying to get, and it's still not for me. But my advice would be, listen to your parents sometimes, because there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it for me. I don't want his money.
Listen
I
to
don't
your
want
dad. That's his goal.
So it's sometimes good advice, isn't it, for some people?
Absolutely. The final question. Something that you'd like to leave ring in the ears of the people that have listened to this fascinating conversation, and thank you for your time. Your golden rule, if you like, for living a high-performance life.
Well, I think you got to show up. It's so underrated. So underrated. Sometimes just showing up beats anything else, especially these days. I mean, I am unlike my dad. I am on social media, and I think people have a lot of resources to find the best way to do something, and they can Google what's the best way to be good at MMA, for example. What's the best way? Put it in YouTube. How do I swim faster? Listen, swim faster by swimming. That's how you swim faster. Sitting there on YouTube it. Just show up, get in the pool and swim.
Amazing. Will you fight Jon Jones?
Yes.
Will you beat him?
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, both.
Loved it.
Last thing, guys, Tommy forgot something to show the guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you are.
What's this?
Charlie was throwing that at you.
I forgot. I actually did forget. Charlie said, you can try one. It's my toothpicks.
Is it?
Yeah.
Go on.
Got your own toothpicks?
These are going to be big stuff, They're going to be big.
Why?
Well, because they're stopping. The idea is I want to stop people vaping
Thanks, Tom.
and give them something to do rather
Brilliant.
than breathing in a load of
Oh, that's nice.
stuff that you
Is
don't
it
even know what
minty?
it is.
No.
Oh,
No, but
you've got
there
to
is
guess
minty.
the
There are
flavour.
minty ones, the same brand, but they're not my flavour. This is my
Very.
specific flavour.
Big,
That's
very.
nice.
They're going to be in shop soon.
I love it when a plan comes together.
That's what we're having. I might put a joint one. I might actually put
No,
one
I'm
in.
all right.
So we're going to.
They're actually
I've
delicious.
had two.
They're not too bad, are they? They're
Yeah,
good.
good.
They are good. After
Have you been involved in like the design?
no, I
of
wanted
these?
to have this flavour though. The lads. who
What
do
is the
this-
flavour?
This is
Big berry.
Big Berry.
Lovely. Just don't spar with one in your mouth. I think that's probably a bad move.
Talked about that before though.
Yeah, yeah. So used to be a fighter who flicked one out, having an interview with
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So after
And
his
he said,
fight,
you've not just fought in that, have you? And he wouldn't answer the question, but he had. He just
he did
fought with
5
a
rounds with
toothpick.
that in his mouth like
Dunno.
that.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why he woke, but
Maybe like as a distraction technique, though.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. Good luck.
thank you.
There's no,
Thank you.
Thank you.
there's
We'll be
no
rooting
problem.
for you.
If you want,
Thanks, mate.
You know what I really love? Sitting in this room, having the incredible conversations that you get to watch on High Performance. But something else I love is taking the lessons and the learnings from the likes of KSI and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Matthew McConaughey and all these other incredible guests we've had on High Performance and taking them out to you, to your businesses, to your people. And whether it's sitting around a small group of 6 senior leaders or maybe in an auditorium with 2,000 or 3,000 staff members, myself and Damien just love helping you and your people get closer to your own version of high performance. And we've done it in Germany, in Dubai, in North America, in South Africa, you name it. We've traveled the world sharing our message of high performance. And if you'd love us to come and work with you and your business, all you have to do is hit the link in the description and we will be with you, getting you and your team closer to high performance.